Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. Today, we were going to present to you our topic about the chapter 17, which is the growth of European state. It has a 6 subtopic. Spain dominates Europe for a century, Bourbons came to power in Europe, the 30 Years' War disrupts Europe, absolute monarchy triumphs in France, Parliament gains power in England, and states develop in Eastern Europe. The topic that I am going to discuss are the Spain dominates Europe for a century and the Bourbons came to power in Europe. Why Spain dominates Europe for a century? We all know that Spain is a powerful conquerors in their times. They sailed over the earth to conquer every country, increase their territory by propagating Christianity. By the help of Christian kingdom spread out of Christianity in the rest of peninsula, they become successful. How does Ferdinand and Isabella centralize power in Spain? So in 1469, Ferdinand and Isabella were married. That become the steps toward a united Spain and strengthened their kingdoms from any challenges that came into them. They become skillful and strong rulers, but they experienced many problems in ruling unified state that become an opportunity to the other noble Spanish to be independent when Reconquest arrived. But the monarchs removed nobles from government position to stop the independency and encourage the royals to support them in a condition. So what are the conditions of royals? Their condition was allow them to marry the members of royal family and giving them honorary and offices. How the Isabella and Ferdinand become powerful? They were known as Catholic kings and strengthened their ruling by appointing high church officials with the control of royals that lead to harsh heretics and Jewish. The also wage war against Muslim to push Christianity. Why Muslim and Jews are persecuted? Ferdinand and Isabella wants Muslim and Jews to convert in Christianity, but they struggled long to drive them out, and they expected that the Muslims and Jews practice their own religion in a secret. That's why they are tortured and burned in a stake. But after the years, Jews are expelled from Spain and other Muslims was forced to convert so that they stay on their homes. Ferdinand and Isabella had a grandson which is Charles and became the King of Spain on 1316. Charles came from the Hapsburg family who lives in Austria. Habsburg are the powerful family in Austria. Their prince took the lands of weaker lords and married the member of royal family to increase the population in Habsburg, like Maximilian I, who married Mary of Burgundy, who is belonged to a noble family. Also, the parents of Charles came from different places. The power of Charles makes Habsburgs control Spain. Charles V has overwhelming responsibilities, so during his reign, he won the loyalty of his countrymen and continued. He ruled with vitality and he brought many achievements in Spain like conquering Mexico and Peru, and take the gold and silver treasure in Aztecs and Incas. He also take the responsibility in protecting Habsburgs from the Ottoman Empire, who are trying to conquer Habsburg, but they couldn't. All of what Charles had and the Holy Roman Empire were passed on his son Philip II, who are the next king. Philip II strengthened royal authority. Philip ruled from 1556 to 1598 with an absolute monarch. He aims to strengthen Spanish power and the power of Roman Catholic Church. He deals on different officials and to the other nation and becomes successful in increasing the church authority. Christian forces war against the Turks. Philip scared about the threat of Ottoman Empire that causes him to join forces with the Pope and Republic of Venice to defeat and stop the Ottoman Empire. In 1571, they defeat Ottomans in the Battle of Naval and freed the Christian slave with over 10,000. Portugal is united with Spain. Philip added the Portugal to the lands that he ruled and acquired the Portugal's empire when the King of Portugal died. Dutch Protestant rebels against Spanish rule. By the economic and religious policies of Spanish that they implemented, many hated them. Philip harshed Dutch by increasing their taxes and stopped their trading to give way Spanish merchants. That causes the Dutch to begin rebellion and lasted in many years. Was led by William the Silent, that is Protestant. Spain clashes with England. Because of war in Netherlands, England conflicted with Spain. Philip wanted to spread Christianity on England. He married Mary I, the Catholic queen, but Mary died on 1558, and her half-sister Elizabeth were the next queen. She did not accept the proposal of Philip and wished to rule England alone. Spanish fleet Armada declared war against English ships, but they defeated and the power of Spain declines. How the power of Spain declines? Within a century passes, Spain's power was lost and declined. On 1610, Louis XIII became the king at his young age. With the help of his mother and Cardinal Richelieu, his authorities strengthened and his power increases. That's all for my topic. I'm your presenter, Aldemar Sams Espa, and the next topic will be discussed by Wilmer D. Velasco. Thank you.
Hi everyone, today I present my topic, the 30 years war disrupt Europe. While Spain under the Hapsburg had declined by the 17th century, the Hapsburg rulers, Austria remained the leading family in Europe. Through their lies to Spain and as Holy Roman Emperors, the Austrian Habsburg dominated much of the continent. Only Bourbon France was a serious rival for political dominance, but religious conflict were a challenge to Habsburg authority. This conflict led to the long and destructive 30 Years' War. At that time, European states tried to maintain a balance of power. Starting in the 16th century, the states of Europe became concerned with the maintaining balance of power. They tried to prevent any one state from becoming so strong that it could dominate the others. In the 16th and early 17th century, the balance of power was threatened by both Spanish and Austrian Habsburg. Habsburg rulers claimed Bohemia. In the 16th century, Bohemia was prosperous state. If we say prosperous, it is considered as abundant state with a population made up of Czechs and Germans. Complex political and family ties link Bohemia with neighboring Austria, Hungary, Poland, and the German state. At 1516, Louis II, which is the grandson of Poland's ruler, became king of both Bohemia and Hungary, but Louis was killed resisting the Ottoman Turks at the Battle of Mohacs in 1526. The nobles gave the crowns of Bohemia and Hungary to Ferdinand I, the Hapsburg ruler of Austria, who was married to Louis' sister. This made Bohemia part of the Hapsburg domain. Religious difference in Bohemia led to war. After the Reformation, Bohemia became a battleground between the Catholic Habsburgs and the Czechs and Germans Protestant. The Protestant Czechs was being executed for heresy in 1415. In 1618, the Czech nobles rebelled against their Habsburg ruler, Ferdinand II, and killed several officials. That's why Ferdinand became a Holy Roman Emperor and end the religious tolerations that the Bohemia Protestant had been promised earlier. In response, the Bohemians deposed him and chose Frederick V, a German Protestant prince, as their king. They hoped from Protestant ruler of England and Netherlands who were related to King Frederick. War involves many states. The Czech uprising marked the beginning of the 30 Years' War. In 1618 to 1648, Emperor Ferdinand II soon sought support from other Catholic rulers. A Spain army was sent by his Habsburg cousin Philip II of Spain and by another cousin Maximilian, the Catholic ruler of the German state of Bavaria. In 1620, alien army quickly defeated the Bohemians at the Battle of White Mountain and deposed Frederick. The emperor gave Frederick's German territories to Maximilian. When Bavarian army attacked Protestant region in northern Germany, King Christian IV of Denmark entered the conflict in order to protect the Protestant. In 1626, he was defeated by the brilliant Austrian General Albrecht Wallenstein. Denmark soon left the war. Other states tried to maintain the balance of power. The Habsburg victories allowed Emperor Ferdinand II to take over the state of the rebellious Protestant nobles in Bohemia as well as the lands of several Lantern French in Germany. He ordered the return of property taken from the Catholic Church since the Reformations. He also expelled Protestant clergy and teachers from Bohemia and imposed Habsburg rule on the embittered Czechs. The increasing power of the Habsburg, the religion's difference that had begun the war were overshadowed by the struggle to maintain the balance of power. To prevent Habsburg domination, both Catholic and France entered the conflict on the side of the German Protestant. Swedish force invaded Germany 1630, led by King Gustavus Adolphus, one of the great generals in modern history, and the Legion of the North. Gustavus Adolphus was killed in battle in 1632. In 1635, Cardinal Richelieu and Louis XIII brought France into the war. Flight from war and oppression may have reduced the Bohemian population from 3 million to 800,000. The 30 Years' War has lasting result. German, French free to rule their own state and choose their own religion. 5 years of peace caused few territorial changes. The Netherlands gained independence from Spain. Sweden gained control of the Baltic. And France was acknowledged as the preeminent Western power. That was the Europe about in 1648. That's all. I'm your presenter, Mr. Wilmer D. Velasco. The next topic will be discussed by John U. Cabanigan.
Hello everyone. Today I'm going to present our topic about the absolute monarchy triumphs in France and the parliaments gains power in England. First is the absolute monarchy triumphs in France. Guys, actually what is absolute monarchy triumphs means? It simply refers to the extreme power of the king for a long period of time where no one have no rights to against the king. While in France, absolute monarchy triumphs refers to the longest reign of King Louis XIV, where he was devoted to increase prince power and prestige. That was the time when the Bourbon France had become the dominant power in Western Europe during 1643 to 1715. How it was happened? After a long years of war and it almost 30 years, when King Louis XIII died, his son, the new King Louis XIV, was not quite 5 years old by that time. His mother ruled for him along with the new chief minister, Cardinal Mazarin. Cardinal Mazarin was one who strengthens central authority. After the death of Richelieu in 1642, who is the trainer of Cardinal Mazarin? Cardinal Mazarin became extremely powerful and was hated and feared by many. King Louis claims the divine right of king because Louis XIV believes that kings are born to possess all and command all. He believes also that the ruler's power came from God and that no subject dared to question it. Cardinal Mazarin died in 1661. After the death of Cardinal Mazarin, King Louis XIV started personally as an absolute monarchy. His famous statement of this power was "Litat es mot." It means that the state it is no minister, however, capable and loyal determined policy for the king. Louis XIV was also called the Sun King because of the splendor of his reign. King Louis' personal rule gave France greater unity and stronger central government than it had ever had. One of the best achievements of King Louis XIV is the Versailles Palace near at Paris. The palace was half a mile long and contained hundreds of rooms, including 240-foot long hall with walls paneled with mirror. That was awesome, guys. Louis XIV was king for 72 years. And during his long reign, art, literature, drama, music, and ballet flourished in France. Another one is the persecution of Huguenots hurts the French economy. Louis XIV demanded that the Huguenots convert to Catholicism, but thousands of Huguenots fled to Protestant lands, England, Netherlands, Switzerland, and made their way to English colonies in North America. In other words, France lost many of its ablest business leader and artisan as well as their wealth. On 1667 to 1714, France went to war 4 times. That was called the War of Spanish Succession. This war was the most destructive war. It called also the first of World War because most of leading states in Europe are involved. Philip of Anjou, a Bourbon prince, grandson of Louis XIV, claimed the Spanish throne. Louis XIV died at 1715 and left the country into debt. Next is Parliaments gains power in England. How Parliaments gains power in England? England flourishes under Queen Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth has 45 years reign and was one of England's greatest ages. She is one of most respectable leader of England for a long period of time. The trading system of England goes successful and progressive on Queen Elizabeth time. They got their first trading post in India by the time. Next is Britain's crown jewel. Priceless gems and gold ornaments are one symbol of the monarch power. Oliver Cromwell is the one who is the grievous threat to the crown jewel who had them sold. Several groups of Roman Catholics challenged the Queen's right to the throne. Mary Stuart, Queen of Scots, cousins of Elizabeth. By 1567, Queen of Scots forced to give up the throne of Scotland and took refuge to England. And by 1587, Queen Elizabeth ordered to execute Queen of Scots by beheading. Parliament clashes with Stuart kings. James I, son of Mary Stuart, while Charles I, son of James I. There are two issues conflict between parliaments and the monarch intensified. It is the taxes and the religion. Another one is what is the foundation of English liberty. One of the best foundation of English liberty is the petition of right. Parliament places more limits on the monarch's power. Civil war was also breaks out between king and parliaments. On 1649, Charles I was beheaded and executed. Cromwell is one who established a republic known Commonwealth, while on 1653, where Cromwell took the title Lord Protector and ruled England, Scotland, and Ireland until his death in 1658. From 1660 to 1685, it called Restoration period, known as the Merry Monarch, the return of Charles II, son of Charles I. So that's all for my topic. I am your presenter, Mr. Janyo Cabanigan, and the next topic will be presented by Mr. Rani Pantinople. Thank you.
Good morning everyone. My report is all about state developed in Eastern Europe. Eastern Europe is the center of the different countries. The frontier lay in the region east of the Elbe River. Further east, broad grassy plains, the steppes stretch from the Carpathian Mountain into Asia. In that case, Asian nomads are easily cross the steppes and invade Europe. That's why the progress or formation of a state in Eastern Europe are so difficult. Like for example, the variety of language, peoples and religion. Many Eastern Europe are slaves. Definitely people living in Eastern Europe are majorized by the slaves, who originally came from dense wood and vast swampy, near area the Pripyat River. The slave groups are moved into German places after the German moves to west and south into Roman territory. In the time of Charlemagne, slaves are divided into three major groups by geography and religion. The Western slaves included by Poles, Czechs, and Slovaks to became a Roman Catholic. The Eastern slave, mostly Russians and Ukrainians, joined the Eastern Orthodox Church, linked with the Byzantine Empire. And the South slaves, who included Croatian, Serbian, and Bulgarians, where the religions are divided into two churches. In the 19th century, South slaves cut off of being slaves people and invaded the Danube River plains. The Magyars are not Slavic people, and especially their language are not related to the Indo-European language spoken by almost everyone else in Europe. Magyars established the Hungarian state. Magyars from the land near the Volga River with riding horse led by chief named Arpad. He continued the role the Magyars until 1301. He was crowned king with the Pope's approval. As a rulers of Hungarian, he made it powerful. All the landowners are forced to paying taxes. Only King Arpad can sign the guarantee of the nobles' right. Foreign rulers strengthened the Hungarian kingdom. Half the population was killed and the country was devastated, leached by the Arpad. Charles Robert of Anjou and he only Norman knights who claimed the throne introduced the Western feudal practices. Charles married the daughter of the Polish king, the ruler of territories to the east become vassals of the Hungarian king. Hungary had to defend itself against the Ottoman Turks, who moved into Eastern Europe, and Hungarians remained powerful in Central Europe. In 1526, at the Battle of Mohacs, the Hungary with the king almost killed, and the crown of Hungary claimed by Hapsburg. In 1540, most of Hungary was under Ottoman rule. Poland emerged as a power in Central Europe. In the late 10th century, medieval rulers, the early Polish kings, found it difficult to gain control over the nobles. Not until the 13,000 did a strong ruler emerge. He was Casimir III, who ruled Poland from 1333 to 1370. Casimir introduced a long period of peace, encouraging trade, industry, and agriculture. Because of his concern for the Polish peasants, and he called peasant king, Casimir III encouraged immigrants from Western Europe to settle in areas where many people had been killed in the Mongol invasions. Casimir III granted them the right to settle in Poland, maintain their own schools, and practices their religion freely. Polish nobles have great power. In the 16th century, Poland enjoyed a golden age of culture and prosperity. When the Jagiello dynasty ended in 1572, Polish nobles began the practices of electing their monarch. Poland is partitioned by stronger states. Poland was unable to avoid being involved in Europe's wars, and other states interfered. In the country's affair, invasions by Sweden and Ottoman Empire and Russian created nearly continuous disorder. Russian influence was strong, particularly in eastern Poland, Russia, and Austria. The humiliation of the partition sparked a reform movement in Poland. In the movement of government in Poland in 1791 proclaimed a new constitution with a hereditary monarch and reform feudal practices. Empress Catherine the Great of Russia, and she sent troops into Poland to stop this movement. More Polish territory went to Russia and Prussia in 1793. They could not stop the combined forces of Prussia and Russia. What was left of Poland was divided between Russia, Prussia, and Austria in 1795. With this partition, Poland ceased to exist as a nation. Russian states developed. Russia had been under Mongol rule from 1240 onwards. Strategically located near the headwaters of four rivers, Moscow had the advantage of evil leaders who worked to unify their lands. Ivan IV adds to Russians' land but terrorized the people. In the 15th century, Ivan IV laid the foundation for a centralized state, ruling from 1462 to 1505. Ivan asserted Moscow's independence from the Mongol. When Ivan married Sophia, niece of the last Byzantine emperor, he proclaimed himself heir to Constantinople, which had fallen to the Turks in 1453. Russian enters the time of troubles. Ivan's death in 1584, Russian was restored, resulted in a newly met freedom of the peasant. Landowners paid peasants according to their taxes and the government. One Cossack group, led by the hero Yermak, began Russia's expansion eastward into Siberia in 1581. Other Cossacks, however, were frequently in revolt against the Caesars. Disorder was so widespread that the period from about 1598 to 1613 is known as the Time of Troubles. Peter strengthened Caesar's autocracy. Through the help by Peter, kings that made Russia an empire and established the modern state came in the reign of Peter I, called Peter the Great. He ruled from 1682 to 1725, becoming sole Caesar in 1696. Peter the Great had immense physical strength, vitality, curiosity, and he also learned military skills, shipbuilding, and sailing. He began to admire the Eastern customs of the foreign traders he knew in Moscow. He tirelessly promoted change with the goal of helping Russia catch up with Western Europe. In the country of Northern Europe were constantly at war with each other during Peter's reign. Peter began an war against King Charles Charles XII of Sweden, and he got victorious at first. This is your presenter, Rani Pantinople. That's the end of chapter 17.